You know, people ask me how I came up with dry fasting for all this other stuff. You know, anybody that's followed my work over the last 2 or 3 years has been specifically for getting to Mars. The problem with interplanetary travel and radiation exposure. Over the years, I've shown that there's no shielding that actually protects us from the radiation of the sun and space. Instead of trying to shield people from radiation, what if you could just repair the damage from radiation? And when that little twist in thinking occurred, I started pursuing a completely different path of research, where I came across the works of Ivanov, Shishyanikov, Villanov, these guys in Russia that have used dry fasting to cure radiation illnesses. In Chernobyl, these tests that prove that even if you're exposed to radiation, if you dry fast afterwards, the radiation damage disappears. So I figured, well, this is a great idea. Why don't we just apply this to interplanetary travel, especially going to Mars? It's 180 days out, 180 days back. If we can get below the ice packs on Mars, yeah, there's probably enough hydrogen in the water frozen to protect you from galactic cosmic rays, which is the big problem. It's that going out and coming back issue. But if we could treat these problems with dry fasting, then the astronauts could come back safe. Just have a calculated time. Have them dry fast during the trip out and back. That's great. During the research, I ended up seeing all these other amazing health benefits to dry fasting. In particular, the effects of starvation therapy, which is what this is called, anhydrous starvation, which is where you don't drink and don't eat for a certain period of time. There's a really interesting thing that happens after about 2 or 3 days where you get into deep ketosis, autophagy turns on, and suddenly the enzyme protein kinase A is turned off, and it turns on all your stem cells. Walter Longo from USC discovered this, where when you fast animals and fast humans, the gut biome regenerates, the tissues inside the gut lining regenerate, because what's happening is this particular enzyme is turned off. That really got me thinking. Then I started researching what you'll see in the book, in the bibliography, 115 different articles and research papers that prove the idea in the book. That is kind of a history of what I came across to discover this idea, that if you stop eating long enough, you can actually get into a deep healing effect that starts getting rid of the bad cells. That's where the radiation cure comes in. Because these cells have been damaged, their genetics have been damaged, the organelles have been damaged, radiations come in and change the structure of the chemical structure of the cell, and the body recognizes these bad actors and engulfs them in a macrophage and just digests it into amino acids again, which are used to rebuild new cells and proteins. So this is where I came into this. About 2 or 3 years ago, I came across this stuff. If you've seen my work at the Observing the Frontiers conferences, I've been going over this for a long time now. We have no protection out to Mars. Then it looks like we do. A couple of years ago I came across this, and what's interesting is I know it does work. I had lost my sense of smell about 5 years ago. I had lost it for up to 3 years and nothing was working. Nothing. Absolutely nothing was working. I was trying salt rinses, therapy, all kinds of drugs and stuff, and nothing brought my sense of smell back. And I gotta tell you something, when you can't smell, food tastes terrible. So the whole experience of eating was completely ruined. About the same time I came across this Russian therapy and dry fasting, I thought, what have I got to lose? So I went on a 5-day dry fast just to try it out. In 3 days my sense of smell came back. That's impossible. You don't get neurological tissue regenerating in 3 days. Sense of smell came back. Food tastes great again. I know this works. But the basis of this entire protocol, which I'll get into in the next video, is dry fasting. You have to be able to dry fast. And like Shishyanikov and Filanov suggest, try a day. Don't eat and don't drink for a day. Don't eat or drink for a weekend. Find out that you don't have to worry about drinking water every 3 days or you'll die. And you can go through these periods of time with no damage at all. In fact, I would make an argument that if you don't stop eating, you will not have an extended lifespan. You have to stop eating to fix the problems in the cells. In particular, the methylation that builds up. Dry fasting upregulates NAD+, which turns on SIRT1, which demethylates the DNA, so your protein sequences are all available again so you can have healthy cellular functionality. SIRT2 deacetylates the cells, so you can have new microtubules traffic with the mitochondria, all the good things that happens in the cytoplasm and the nucleus. You have to dry fast to get to that level of healing. So really, when you think about this whole idea, there are things that I'll talk about that you can do before a dry fast and after a dry fast, before it to make it work better and after to make the benefits last longer. But you have to be able to dry fast. So the next video is going to be how to dry fast. It's, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot easier than you think, because we've been taught all these bad ideas about, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. You can. I've done 3 7-day dry fasts, and I've had no ill effects. In fact, nothing but good health benefits. And I've also turned on my stem cells, give myself endogenous stem cell therapy for free, and I'm backing up time. So give dry fasting a try, and get the book. Read about everything in the book. It's really quite remarkable. So that's how I found out about this stuff. It's from trying to figure out how to get astronauts back and forth to Mars safely. And it turns out it does so much more.